Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm hoping that everybody is having a great pre-Thanksgiving day today. I know that we're going to talk about a Frigidaire air fry oven, and I know that my aunt, I had just received my parts from Encompass to fix my aunt's double oven. So today you're probably doing a whole lot of oven calls. So we're probably going to have a very short class. It looks like we do have one person in there. I am hoping that we get at least a few more, but we'll find out. So, like I said, today we're talking about a Frigidaire CGES 3065. Okay, I actually have this oven in my home in Daytona Beach. I love this oven. Okay, mine is a little bit different than this one. If you look right here, it has all of the same features, but mine has, when we get to the eyes, we'll talk about a little bit of the difference. Okay, so if you look at the number one, you can see that that's the electronic oven control with the kitchen timer. Okay. Number two is an electronic element control display. Number three is the keep warm zone control. Number four is the left front element. Number five is the left rear element. Number six is the right rear element control. Number seven is the right front element control. Number eight is the element indicator light on. That light will, of course, always be on if the element is hot. Okay. The cooktop indicator light also will be lit if you have anything turned on. Okay. We're now going to go and we're going to take a look right here at the automatic door light switch. That's number 10. Number 11 is the self-clean latch. Number 12 is the oven vent. Number 13 is the oven exterior light. It does have a removable cover. The one thing that I really like about this oven is that it has two lights in it. All right. So I always have the ability to be able to look at what I'm seeing, and I can actually watch it and see if I have done any how close I am to getting it done. Okay. One of the things that I will tell you is, if you don't know it for sure, you lose about 20 degrees of temperature every time you open a door. So it's very important that you have the light switch that I can depress and look to check so that I don't open the door. I will tell you that I have, in my career, I used to have all of the high-end homes for Viking, in the whole state of Florida, the whole state of Alabama, the whole state of Georgia, Mississippi, and Louisiana and Tennessee. Okay, so I had all of these high-end appliances. Every time you open the door, this is one of the hardest things that you can't get somebody that's a baker to understand, is every time I open that door, I'm going to lose at least 20 degrees of temperature in my oven. What does that cause? Number one, it causes things to not bake evenly. Okay. One of the complaints that I had from a chef, a true chef that you see on TV, was that his oven wouldn't cook cookies properly. So what I did was, I knew that I was going to have problems. So on my way to this chef's house, I stopped off at the local grocery store. I bought me a package of sugar cookies. Okay. I took it into the house. I sat it down. I always carried an oven, a pan that I could cook cookies on. We sat and talked, and I said, okay, hang on. I'm going to go outside, and I'm going to get what I need. I went out there. I got my cookie dough. I cut it out, and at that time I put it on the sheet pan, and I took and put it in the oven after it had preheated. That's another thing that people don't understand. I have to preheat an oven. I can't just throw it in the oven and turn it on. This isn't a microwave. This is an oven. With an air fry, I still have to, I always preheat this even though it's an air fry, okay? So why do you feel that it's a waste of time, Mike? Okay, moving along. So right here is the difference in a regular and the oven that I have. Okay, I have, mine is an induction oven. Mine is a little bit different than this one. So I have to have a special pot. You have to make sure that you have to that you're using the correct pot. Okay. Of course, 21 is a 6-inch radiant. 22 is the keep warm element. So that's a very important element that I have that I really like about this oven is that it will. I have something that I can keep it warm in. Number 23 is a 6-inch radiant. 24 is a 6 or a 9-inch double radiant. 25 is the 9 to 12 double radiant, and then 26 is the ceramic cooktop. Okay, so mine actually, I do not have the 6 or the 9-inch double radiant, and 25 I don't have the 9 to 12 inch. That's one of the features that I don't have because I just have a radiant element. Okay, so what features cause you the most issue when you're repairing? Okay, one of the questions that I try to ask everybody, is it the board replacement? Is it the element replacement? Do you have problems with the radiant element replacement? And then replacing the light bulb. The light bulb is probably for me the easiest thing for me to change. The only thing that I have to worry about is I have to take the door off the hinge. All right. So moving along, to save a favorite. Let's say that I'm cooking something that I cook all the time, and I want to make sure that I can save it into the control, the oven control. Okay. I'm going to press the bake. Once I do that, the default temperature will appear in the display. The second one is I'm going to enter a temperature needed. This time it's going to be 450 degrees. Then I'm going to press the start. Once I press the start, I'm going to go back and press the bake. Okay. Then I'm going to enter the time needed, however long it's going to be that I'm going to cook it for. Then I'm going to press and hold my favorite second for 3 seconds. That's the favorites key. Okay. Then the little heart icon will appear. And then it shows you that this setting has been saved. Okay. So once I do that, the bake recipe will start. If you don't need it, just press the cancel. Okay. So one of the other things that we seem to always have problems with is cooking with a meat probe. Okay. So the problem is that that people either put it in the wrong part of the ham or the roast or something. They put it in the wrong end of it. They may put it and it touches the bone, which will throw the meat probe off. So we're gonna keep on going, but we're gonna talk about the meat probe, how I'm gonna use the meat probe. Okay, so like I was saying, you have to put this element in the proper place. Okay, I'm going to insert the probe so that the probe tip rests inside the center of the thickest portion of the meat. Okay, whatever it is that you're cooking. Okay, for the best results, do not allow the probe temperature sensor to have any contact with bone, fat, gristle, or the cookware itself. If I push it in too far and I touch the cookware, it throws the meat probe off. Okay, so to set the probe, what am I going to do? I'm going to insert the meat probe into the food. I'm going to place the prepared food on the desired oven rack position and slide into the oven. Once I slide that piece of whatever it is into the oven, I'm going to plug the connector into the probe, okay, into the probe receptacle while the oven is still cool. Then I'm going to take the receptacle that's located in the upper left corner of the oven cavity. Okay, when that probe is set, an acceptance tone you can hear. Okay, the meat probe itself will the probe light icon will illuminate with the actual probe temperature will now appear in the display. Okay, once I do that, now I can close the oven door. Usually, it depending on the temperature that's in the house. It may be displaying the temperature of the oven in the house. Okay, so here's the picture of what that looks like. So it shows that this one was at 70 degrees is what it was, and then there is one for showing that I'm using the meat probe itself. Okay, so which feature do you have the most issues with getting the customer to understand? Okay, meat probe, baking, or the convection? So most of the time, people will tell me that it's usually either the meat probe or the convection the convection. Okay, the baking, like I said, unless you have somebody that just truly doesn't understand the principles of the oven, you'll be able to tell that's not, I'm going to have that problem. So the convection, we're going to go through that in a little bit, and then we just got through and went the meat probe portion. Okay, so whenever I get there, I take my meter in, especially if somebody's telling me that it's not cooking properly. It may be that the customer says I'm burning stuff on the top and it's raw on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to calibrate the oven probably. So what I will do at that point is the temperature in the oven is preset at the factory. The first thing, the first time that you use the oven, be sure to follow the recipe times and the temperatures. If you think that the oven is cooking too hot or too cool for the temperature you select, you can adjust the actual temperature, okay, to be more or less in the degree section. So I'm going to have to go into the memory, and I'm going to have to reset the temperature. I can preset this either plus or minus 35 degrees. Okay. So what I'm going to do, if I'm going to calibrate, I'm going to press the bake element for 6 seconds. UPO0 will appear in the display. To increase the temperature, use the number keys to enter the desired change. For example, if the 30-degree temperature 30 temperature may be increased as much as 35 degrees. Okay. If I'm going to lower it, I can also lower it 35 degrees. Okay. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to dial in however many degrees it says that it is off, because I have taken my meter and I have used it to see what it is baking at properly, what it actually is baking at, not what the oven thinks it's baking at. How do I get to this? I will turn the oven on. I have my thermostat in the oven from my meter. It tells me a reading. I watch it. It rises. Whenever it shuts off, I write down the temperature that it shuts off. Then it will decrease. Okay. Whenever it finishes decreasing, it will then start to increase. I write down that lower temperature. Okay. Now we've got a high and a low. I've let that cycle a couple of 3 times, and then I'm going to take the average of those 3. That will tell me if I'm going to calibrate this oven properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial in whatever I need, either plus or minus. I'm going to put that in. I'm going to press the start to accept the change. Okay. And the display will return to the time of day. Press off to reject the change. So like I said, you can do this either plus or minus. Just depends. Okay. So if I'm going to lower it, once again, all I do is press the bake for 6 seconds. UPO appears to decrease the temperature in the oven. Number keys to the desired temperature change. That's after I have let it cycle my 3 times. Then I'm going to press self-clean. The temperature may be decreased as low as 35 degrees, which is what I had already told you. Okay, I'm going to press the start to accept the temperature. Once I do that, I can press off to reject the change if I need to, or it will just turn back to the time of day. All right. To program the oven to be baking immediately and activate the Sabbath mode. Okay, this is something that almost every oven in today's market actually has built into their oven is a Sabbath mode. Okay, so what does the Sabbath mode do? Okay, it will actually start cooking food. The person doesn't have to touch anything. The lights are not going to come on, and it will turn itself off after the cooking time that you have set for the Sabbath mode. Okay, because I'm not supposed to be doing anything in the Sabbath as a person, as a Jewish person. I can't be using the Sabbath mode to cook. That's against my religion. So I have the Sabbath mode built into the oven, and now I can set the Sabbath mode and I don't have to do anything. Okay. So be sure that the clock is set to the correct time of day. That's the most important thing. Okay. I'm going to place the food in the oven. I'm going to press bake 350, appears in the display. Press start. The actual oven temperature appears in the display. If you desire to set the temperature control for a bake time or a delayed bake time so that you get it done at the right time. If not, skip this step and continue to step 5. But the settings delay start on page 3 of the manual. For the bake time instructions, I'm going to start it and dial in how long I want it to wait before it to start. Okay. The oven will turn on and it will begin heating. If I have it set to the time delay, which is what's going to happen, it will not start until that time of day has reached. Okay. So it will actually not do anything until, if I have it set that it's going to come on at 12 p.m. and it's going to cook for 2 hours. Whenever it gets to be 12 o'clock, that oven will start to heat. Once it goes through the heating portion of it, it will then cook. Once it gets done, and it will shut itself down. Okay, so I can turn this off if something happens and I don't want it to finish. All I have to do is hit the off button, and that will cancel everything out. Okay, so if once I'm done with the Sabbath and it gets to be Sunday, I can now just go ahead and press and hold both the bake time and the delay start for 3 seconds. SAB will disappear off of the display. Okay, warmer drawer. My unit has a warmer drawer in it. I love this feature. Okay, so let's say I'm cooking a couple of casseroles. It's good. We're almost at Thanksgiving, so one of the things that we do at our house, we have Thanksgiving dressing, Thanksgiving stuffing. I have a couple of other items that I put in: broccoli casserole and green bean casserole. I put all of those, cook those. Once I get them done, I can put them in the warmer drawer. That warmer drawer will keep it warm and it won't let it lose temperature. I can put all 4 of those items in the bottom, and then if I've got a turkey that I want to cook, I can cook my turkey. Everything else stays warm, and then whenever I get ready and pull the turkey out of the oven and I get ready to carve, I can just pull everything out of this warmer drawer. And this is one of the best features that I could ever ask for. Okay, so my warmer drawer, okay, it has 3 settings. It has high, low, and medium. So if I'm going to keep a bacon patty, a hamburger patty, if I'm going to keep it warm, my pork chops, any kind of fried food or pizza, those all go in the high settings. Okay, so most of mine are going to be like gravies and casseroles, vegetables and eggs. Those are all going to be in the medium. So is a roast. If I'm going to cook a beef roast or a pork roast or a lamb roast, those all go in the medium setting. Okay. If I'm having biscuits that I want to keep, that's also the medium. Right. Same thing with any roll that I have. Okay. If I have a soft roll that I want to keep as a soft roll and not have it harden, I'm going to swap it to the low setting. All right. So one thing that you want to make sure that you do is you have it set at the right proper settings. If it's not set at the proper settings, it will either not keep it warm or it will burn it. Okay. So I'm going to press the probe key once. I'm going to enter the desired target temperature food using the numeric key and set the temperature for the food type. The minimum setting is 140 degrees. The maximum is 210. Okay, I do a lot of smoking. Hang on a second. Pardon me. I do a lot of smoking of meats, and I keep my smoker somewhere around 175 to 200. So this will tell me that if I wanted to put this in there, I could actually probably, if I had a way to get the smoke infused flavor, I could use my warmer drawer, and I would have put it on high. Okay, so set a set to start. I'm going to press the temperature. Then I'm going to set for a quick preheat, bake, convection bake, convection roast, convection cook. And if necessary, I can adjust the temperature accordingly to what I need it to be. The control will provide 3 beeps when the internal temperature is reached. the oven will automatically change to a warm setting, which is a hold. It'll have HLD in the display. And then the actual probe temperature will alternate in the display, and it warm will show, and it will be it will maintain the oven temperature at 170 degrees. Okay, so one of the things that I always ask, and I stop right about here while we're in, is I want to ask if you have any questions so far. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so here's some of the things that I have found have been problems for a customer. Okay, for a bone-in ham or lamb, I'm going to insert the probe into the center of the lowest large muscle, okay, or the joint. Okay, so this is a bone-in lamb or ham. You can tell that that's not correct because that's a turkey that you're looking at. Okay, but I will tell you that if I'm going to use, like I have a turkey that I'm going to be smoking. Okay, so if I'm going to do that and I'm going to use my temperature probe, I am going to insert it into the thickest portion of the leg without me touching the bone. If I touch the bone, as the meat starts to rise or heat up, the bone actually will give you an incorrect temperature. Okay, so the meat, if I'm cooking a fish, I'm going to insert the bone just above the gill. This is for a whole fish. Okay, for a whole poultry or turkey, which is what's depicted here. Okay, we're going to insert the probe sensor into the thickest part of the inner thigh. Okay, just below where the leg is. It shows you right here where you actually need to have put the temperature probe. And this is where I always put mine. If I'm using a smoker, if I'm cooking on my smoker, I have a temperature probe that I use. If I'm cooking in the oven, I can use my temperature probe. It all works the same. So once you know one, you know them all. All right. So my question is to you, if you have ever had problems so that you didn't know the correct answer. So if I have an issue and I'm at a customer's house and I don't know the correct answer, I either one of two things: encourage technicians to step outside, tell the customer I need to go out to the truck for just a minute and I'll be back. At this point, I can either do one of a couple of three things. Number one, I can actually go and look it up on YouTube, because usually on YouTube there is an answer to your issue. If I don't do that, I can call somebody that is another technician and see if they've had this problem. If I don't feel that's a good answer, I can always call the tech line and get somebody on the tech line. I will tell you that my least favorite thing to tell a person to do as a technician is to actually go onto the try to call the tech line. Usually you're on hold for up to usually it's 10 to 30 minutes is the whole time. That's one of the things that haven't got any better is hold times. Okay, so to set the oven temperature, to continue cooking after the reachable target temperature has been reached, I'm going to press and hold the probe key for 6 seconds. Press self-clean key and toggle to CONT and then INU is in the display. Okay. Now the continue, that continues to hold that so that it won't overcook and it won't undercook. Okay. To set the oven temperature automatically, stop cooking and start warm once reaching the target temperature. Press and hold the Pro key again for 6 seconds. I'm going to press the Save Clean key and toggle to cancel appears in the display. Then press Start, and that accepts it, and then I'm done. It shuts the oven all the way off. Okay. So here are our internal temperatures that you need to have all of your meat at. Okay, my beef, my pork, my veal, my lamb needs to be 160 degrees. Okay, turkey. This is very important. Okay, it says 190. I'm sorry, 165 degrees is what it says right here. Okay. I tell you that turkey and chicken, I try to get it somewhere between 170 and 175. I want to make sure that it is done. Okay. There is nothing worse than somebody giving me a piece of chicken that is raw on the inside. Okay. So if I have fresh beef, lamb, or veal, I'm a medium rare guy to rare. I want it somewhere. My personal thing is I want to have it somewhere between 135 and 145 degrees. Okay. That's for rare. Medium is somewhere right at 145 degrees. I'm sorry, that's medium rare. At medium, okay, that's 160 degrees, right? Well done is 170 degrees. Why I would eat anything well done, I don't really understand, but that's not me. Some people still love things well done. Okay, it'll turn a piece of beef into a hockey puck. Well done, almost. It gets dry and doesn't taste good to me. That's my personal opinion. Okay. Poultry, 165 degrees. If it's chicken or turkey whole, 165 degrees. Like I said, I try to ease it a little higher than that and go to 170. That's what I'm going to cook my turkey at and wait until it shuts off. Once I reach 170, it's going to shut my turkey down. Okay. Poultry breast or roast are 165 degrees. I stick with that. Poultry thighs and wings, 165 degrees. Duck or goose, absolutely 165 degrees. Okay. Stuffing. If I cook it in a bird, I always make it get to 170. This says 165. Okay. That's what the manufacturer recommends. If I do a bird and I do not let it get to 165 degrees inside the bird itself, I run the risk of making everybody sick. All right. My fresh pork, 160. Mine I try to do somewhere around that 160, somewhere to 155 to 160. My fresh ham, which I'll also be cooking tomorrow, is 160. If I have a spiral sliced ham that I bought at Walmart or Sam's Club or one of these other places that I bought, okay, that's already almost pre-cooked, I'm actually gonna hook it. Wait till it gets to be 140. Okay, eggs and egg dishes, I'm going to cook until the yolk is firm in the white. If I'm going to have an egg dish, it's going to be 160 degrees. I have got to make sure that it is done well enough that I don't get people sick. Okay, leftovers and casseroles, I want to hook those two items up to make sure that it's 165 degrees whenever I'm reheating it. Okay. If I get a message that says PRB ... 2 ... hot ... and it flashes in the display, that tells me that the probe temperature has exceeded 250 degrees Fahrenheit. If the probe is not removed, this message will continue until the sensor reaches 300 degrees or higher. The oven will automatically, at 300 degrees, it's going to turn it off. Okay? So be sure the probe sensor is fully covered, is fully inserted into the food. Make sure that it is not touching the bone or that it's not touching the pan. Say that I'm baking a casserole and I've got it in a set of Pyrex. If my probe is touching the Pyrex gets hotter than the casserole itself. So I may get this message that flashes. Okay, so far we've done all of this. Does anybody have any questions so far? If you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the comments section. Okay, we're gonna keep on rolling along. All right. So one of the things that I already told you that you have to do, that I find a whole lot easier to do, is just to go ahead and remove the door if I'm changing my light bulb. Okay, I have had to change the light bulb in my oven. It's about 3.5 years old. So I have had to change the bulb. I will tell you this, that like I said, mine has two bulbs in it. I don't change just one. If I'm going to replace it, I go ahead and replace both of them so that I'm not back in another month because the other one blew. Okay. The other thing is, if I am going to change my bulb in my oven, the first thing that I do is I put on a pair of gloves. That keeps the oil and the sweat from getting on this bulb, which will cause the bulb to blow faster. Okay, so well, let's get back on how to remove the oven door. Open the oven door completely. It's horizontal to the floor. Okay, I'm going to pull the door hinge locks on both sides, left and right of the door, down so that the oven frame completely it goes into the door. Okay, I'm going to show you a diagram of it in just a second. Okay, a tool such as a small flat blade screwdriver may be required. On my oven door, I've had to take it off a couple of times, and I actually used a small flat bladed screwdriver that I carry around in my pocket whenever I'm working on stuff. And made it easier for me. Okay. Then once I have done that, I open that door up. Okay. Along the door, and don't use the door handle whenever I'm picking it up. I fold that door up. Whenever I fold that door up, I lift up and out. Okay. It's approximately 10 degrees from the door frame. All right. I'm going to lift the door hinges over the roller pins, and then I can remove the door. Okay, here's a diagram of what I'm talking about. Okay, I don't know about you, but I like pictures. Okay, so what I do, that's the first one. That's the two spots that I'm going to look at. Okay, the second one, I'm going to push down the lock. Okay, if I push down the lock, I can now raise the door up and lift it out. Once I lift it out, I can put it down onto a surface that has a blanket or something else on it, so that I don't scratch the customer's oven. Okay, so there's a picture of the roller pin and the hinges that you have to lift up and out. Once you do this a couple of times, it's pretty easy. Okay, to replace the oven door, basically all I do is the exact opposite of what I did. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to pick the oven door up with the hinges like they are in this position as you see it. I'm going to have to lift up and over at a with it still at its 10-degree angle. Whenever it falls all the way into place, I can now lower the door, push those two arms back up, and I can raise the door all the way and let it close. Okay. I realize that some of this is remedial stuff, but with a new technician, you need to please help that new technician. All right. So replacing the oven interior light bulb. Once again, I'm going to turn the power off at the main source or unplug the unit. Mine at the house, I have to actually just flip the breaker. It's easier for me than to have to pull my oven all the way out and then have to worry about scratching my floor. I can just go to the breaker. I have it marked and I click it off and I'm good. One of the things that I'll tell you is if it's an oven, there's a dryer and an oven that have a double pole, double throw that I'm going to use. So that's the way I know it's the oven. If I walk in and there's nothing out there, I know that it's going to be a 220 breaker. Okay, so I'm going to have my oven, my outside air conditioner, and my dryer. Okay, so I'm going to turn the electrical power off. Once I turn the electrical power off, I'm going to remove the interior light shield by pulling the light straight out. Okay, don't twist or bend it. If you do, you're going to break the bulb. Okay, I'm going to replace the bulb with a new T4 type halogen 25 watt appliance bulb. Okay, like I have already told you, don't allow your fingers to touch the new bulb when replacing it. That shortens the life of the bulb. Use a paper towel or a cotton glove while handling the new bulb during installation. Okay. Whenever I do all of this, like I have already said, I be very careful with that. And mine has two lights in it. That's one of the things that I love about mine. I also tell you that I replace both bulbs instead of replacing one. And, 30 days later, I'm back out and the customer doesn't want to pay me because I didn't replace both bulbs. Okay. So here's the oven light shield. All right. Turn the power back up. Once I put that back in, snap that back into place. Once I snap that back into place, I can turn the power back on. I'm going to be sure to reset the time of day on my clock. I'm also going to double check my light bulb to make sure that they both come on. Once they come off, come back on, the customer is all set and you can write it up and be ready to go. Okay. So if I'm looking at my oven controller, all right, this is the back side of my oven controller. You can tell what I've got right here. I'm going to have to, if you look right in the center of it where the P2 connector is, that's my transformer. All right. So my connectors, all right, the one thing I didn't tell you or didn't say about is my connectors. Okay. I've got a J3 connector right there. I have a P2 connector. I have a J2 connector. I've got a P12 and a P11 and a J3 and a P5 connector. What are these connectors? Okay. If I look at it, my J8 connector right here is my meat probe. All right. So if I'm going to check something with my meat probe, I see that the number 4 is a ground. Okay. Number 3 is a meat probe. Number 2 is a ground. And number 1 is the meat probe PBR1. Okay. So my J8 connector, that's my warmer zone. Okay. I go between normally common and my warmer zone. That'll give me my temperature. Okay. My J3 connectors, you can see right there, normally closed, L1 a convection fan going on to the number four slot. That's the motor door latch. Number 3 is the oven light. Number 2 is the cooling fan on low. Number 1 is the cooling fan on high. That's on my J3 connector. Okay. On my P11 connectors, I have my motor latch switch, and then of course the normally closed, and then the door on the number 4 pin is the door switch itself. On the number 3 is my external switch. Number 2 is my temperature probe, and number 1 is the other side of the temperature probe. Okay, these are something that if I'm going to check, I need to have my wiring diagram right here, or my wiring schematic, depending on if you're an old guy like me or a young guy. My wiring diagram, if I'm going to check something like my temperature probe, where am I going to check my temperature probe? I'm going to go to the J3, I'm going to go to the P11 connector. That's my temperature probe. That's slot 1 and slot 2. So if I'm checking my temperature probe, first thing I'm going to do is find the P11 plug. Okay. If I do that, I can go between 1 and 2, 1 and 3. You see right here where it is on the 1 and 4, 1 and 3. The right answer is not there. It's 1 and 2. But that's it. Okay. So if I went and I checked between pin number 5 on the control and the neutral, okay, what am I going to be checking? Once again, I'm looking at the same connector. So it's the one on the right side. So if I'm going to check between pin number 5 and pin number 6, okay, what am I going to be checking? I'm checking my drawer. Okay, my warmer drawer. If I look at this one, I'm looking at, again, the zone element, my J8 pin is 1 and 2. Then I've got my pin 13. You notice that there's switches on the other side of those. Okay, my thermal protector or my thermal breaker, one of the two. If this switch opens, the oven won't do anything. So if I'm a technician and I get out there and I've got a bad thermal switch because the oven has gotten too high, 9 times out of 10, the problem is the customer has just self-cleaned the oven, and then they go, because this time of year everybody's self-cleaning because nobody wants a dirty oven when all the relatives come in, and then they go to use it, and the thermal breaker is tripped. Okay, very few ovens today have a resettable thermal breaker switch. Okay, today they are a one and done. So what will happen is I have to have this thermal switch on my truck. If something happens and I do not have this thermal switch on my truck, most of the time I can take the back of my screwdriver and I can wrap that switch with the back of my that switch. If I hit it with the back of my screwdriver, I can have it to reset. That is not all the time, and it is definitely not something that I'm going to be able to guarantee you that it's going to work. It may work one time. It may work 100 times. The problem is you never know when it's going to go bad. So this is just to help you, to get you so that you can get the customer back in business. Like I said, my aunt, hers tripped both the upper and lower. It blew both of them, and I had to have Encompass send me a couple because it didn't. Once it did it, it worked one time, and the next time she went, it wouldn't heat. So I ordered it. I got them in last night. I asked her if she wanted to come out. She said no, she'd just wait. She had the next door neighbor was going to let her borrow her oven. So all you're doing is trying to keep the customer in business. Okay. So if I wanted to check the thermal cutout, where would I place my leads? Okay. On the P11 plug between P1 and P3, or on the neutral and the P1 on the board, or I can't do that. So if I look back here, okay, and I'm talking the thermal fuse right here, okay, where would I check it? Number one, I'm going to check it on the P1, right? So where else am I going to check it? Okay, going back, we're P1 and P3 on the P11 plug, P1 and neutral on the board, or I can't do it. The answer is P1 and P3 on the P11 plug. That's where I'm going to check it. Okay, so let's talk about if I have a sensor and I think that my sensor is bad. What am I going to do? I have to come to this chart and I have to find the temperature of where I'm at. And I just get to the closest one, okay? If it's at about 32 degrees, which is freezing, I'm going to be somewhere at 1,000 ohms of resistance, plus or minus 4, okay? If I'm at 250, if I'm at 250 degrees, okay, that's going to be plus or minus 4.4. I should read 1,453 plus or minus 8.9 should be my ohms of resistance. As the temperature goes up, so does the resistance. Okay. So this is my probe circuit. All right. So my electronic oven control. If I get an F10 flashing in the display, what am I going to do? I'm going to check the RTD sensor probe and replace it if necessary. If the oven is overheating, disconnect the power. If it continues to overheat, when the power is reapplied, I'm going to have to replace the electronic control, the EOC, electronic operating control. Okay. If I get an F11, I'm going to press the cancel key. If the fault returns, I'm going to replace the keyboard membrane. If the problem persists, I'm going to have to replace the EOC, the electronic control. Okay. You're going to find that with all of these, I have the ability to have one step that it's going to be. I'm going to have a certain thing that I've got to replace. And whenever you're talking to the customer, you need to let the customer know I'm doing it as cheaply as I can for you. Otherwise, I'll just replace everything at one time, and you'll be good to go. Well, I'll be sure that it's going to work, but right now I'm trying to save you a little money. Okay. If I get an F13, that tells me what am I going to do to try to correct it? I'm going to press the cancel key. I'm going to disconnect the power. I'm going to wait 10 seconds. I'm going to reapply power. If the fault returns on the power up, I have to replace the electronic control. The electronic oven control will be bad. Okay. If I get an F14, I'm going to disconnect the power. I'm going to verify the cable at the cable connection between the keyboard membrane and the electronic control on the J2 and J3 plugs. If the problem persists, I have to replace the electronic oven control. If the connection is good, but the problem persists, I'm going to then have to replace the keyboard or the membrane. Okay. So if I get an F15, that tells me right away then I have to go replace the electronic oven control. And it may be that you have an F12, an F14, and an F15. May all show up in the display. It will just roll, okay? So if I get an F20, my control has detected a problem with the communication link. This one will drive you nuts as a technician. So I've got to check my connectors, make sure that that the last guy that was out there didn't mess it up and got it to work for a little bit, and now it doesn't work anymore. So I'm gonna check the connection between the P6 and the electronic oven control, and the P7 and the ECU1B. Okay. If the problem persists, I'm going to replace that ESECU1B. If all of the above steps don't work, I'm going to have to replace the electronic oven control. Okay. If I get an F30, that tells me that I have an open RTD sensor. Okay. It could also be that I have a wiring problem. So I'm going to have to determine. So I'm going to have to go in. I'm going to have to remove the front of the oven and check my wiring to make sure that I haven't gotten something that's gone bad. And I'm gonna check my RTD sensor. Okay. If I get an F31, that tells me that my RTD sensor is I have a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the wiring probe for possible open conditions. I can unhook the Molinex plug and check my RTD, see if it's open. I'm going to check the RTD resistance at room temperature. I'm going to compare it to the probe resistance at the chart that I just showed you. If the resistance does not match the chart, replace the RTD sensor. Okay. Let the oven cool down and restart the function. If the problem consists, I'm going to have to replace the electronic oven control. You're going to find that 9 times out of 10, the very last step, if it doesn't work, is you have to replace the electronic oven control. That's the manufacturer trying to get you done so that you don't charge the customer so much and it not be all the exact same thing. So if I know the proper steps and I need to check, if I need to check the membrane display, I can actually check it also. Okay. If I have an F90, that tells me that the motor door mechanism is not working. I'm going to press the cancel key. 9 times out of 10, that doesn't work. If the cancel key does not eliminate the problem, turn the power off, turn the power back on. That usually won't help you either. I'm going to check the wiring of the lock motor, the switch, the door switch circuits, unplug the lock motor from the board, and apply power to the L1 directly to the lock motor. If the motor does not rotate, I've got to replace the lock motor assembly. So I have got to apply power directly to the L1. Okay. So then next I'm going to check the lock switch for proper operation to make sure that it opens and closes like it's supposed to. The lock motor may be powered as in the above step to open and close the door switch. If the lock switch is defective, replace the lock motor assembly. If all the other steps fail, as I've said in every other one, I have to replace the electronic oven control. If I get an F95, the door mechanism failure, this door does not stop rotating. You can actually hear this. Hang on just 1 second. Excuse me. Whenever you get there, you can actually hear this motor continue to run. That's all it will do. It's because it's not receiving a synchronization signal from the relay board. So it just continually runs. 9 times out of 10, you're going to walk in. The customer's going to say, I had to turn this thing off because it was going bad. It can be that if they haven't turned that off, you could actually ruin excuse me, I could ruin the EDEC relay board. All right. So my oven circuit analysis, okay, these are open and closed. So for my bake, my P9 is closed. My broil P7 is closed. Convection P11 is closed. My convection fan J3 to 5 is closed. My oven light is open. My door motor is open. My LDB L2 and P1 out. I'm sorry, my L2 out and P1. That's going to be closed. My cooling fan relay, again, is going to be closed. So I'm going to use this to tell me what's open and what's closed in my circuit analysis. All right. So my controls, okay, components with the control console, which is the electronic oven control, which we've said, I don't know, half a dozen times at least. Then we have the electronic surface element controller user interface board, which is that ESECUIB. Okay. That's the one that several of them we had talked about that you're going to have to check to make sure it's working properly. And then we have the electronic surface element control switches. Okay. Okay. So if I'm going to access the control, I'm going to slide the range forward about 8 inches. Why am I going to have to pull it out 8 inches? I've got to get to the side so that I can unscrew the screws. I'm going to remove 4 1/4-inch hex head screws, 2 on each side, securing the trim panels of the range. Then I'm going to slide the trim panels forward and up to remove. Here's a picture of it. Okay. I'm sorry, but you have to turn your head a little bit to see it. Okay. From there, I'm going to remove the control panel screws. If you see right there, there are 4 of those. I have those circled. There's 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. I've split this in half and to get this in, and it came out a little funky, but that gives you a picture of where those are located. Okay. Once I do that, I can pull forward and down on the control panel. I'm showing you right there. Then I'm going to disconnect the 4 Mulinex plugs under the control panel. You saw those 1, 2, 3, 4 are numbered. All right. So I'm going to pull that panel forward and down. Like I said, that's showing you how to do that right there. Okay. I'm going to remove the 8 screws securing the control panel to the range, 2 on each side. There they are right there. There's A and B. Go ahead and they'll be on both sides. I'm going to take those out. Now I can access everything that I need. Okay. I can unhook it and I can do every check that I need to check with this free. I will tell you, I did not say anything about this. This goes without saying. I have to unplug the unit. We started with that one other time, and I didn't. Whenever I talked about disassembling the unit, you have got to unplug the unit. If I'm going to check something and I need power applied, I've already pulled this unit out, and I can check it by plugging the unit in after I get everything disconnected. Whenever I'm doing this, I also have to make double sure that whenever I'm doing it, I literally don't have anything touching any of those boards, because if I do, I can short the board out, and now I got to buy one. Okay? Does anybody have any questions? This is going to wind up our um, our presentation today. I want to thank everybody. We're done a little bit early. Usually it's somewhere around, a minute 10 to 100, a minute 20. So we're at a minute and 5. I'm actually going to sit and talk just a minute or two about the Easy Stock app. And that'll bring us to our normal time. So I'm sorry, Mike, if you felt this was a waste of your time. Whoever else is still out there, please, if you have any questions or anything, my information is scrolling across the bottom. We're going to talk about the Easy Stock app next. You've got my phone number and you have my email. If you're going to try to call me, send me a text message first, because I have so many calls that I am getting right now from spam callers. I don't know how I got it on the black web, but I've got it bad. So also, Reggie's information is scrolling across the bottom. Reggie will not be back until December. He's taking a well-deserved holiday. So if nobody has any questions, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the Easy Stock app. I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to see if you have any questions. Okay, so Easy Stock. You know what? Whenever I was a technician, and up until from when I started in the late 70s up until the 80s, we didn't even have a cell phone. I was on a pager for the first 5 years of my career. Okay. From that, we went to a cell phone. Now, the communication that we used to have, like I said, was either a pager or a wireless radio, kind of like a CB radio, that we had between all of us. And if we had a question and we had a problem, we could always radio one of our other technicians, and they would either have an answer. I've even been done with my route, somebody having a problem, and I actually drove to where they were at, because they were 15 minutes from me. So those are the old days. Now you guys have Easy Stock. What does Easy Stock do for me as a technician? If I have the Easy Stock app, it does 3 super primary things that I need as a technician. It keeps control of my parts. That's number 1. Whenever I'm running low, I can set it so that it will either order the part for me and have it shipped to the address that I'm requesting, or it will tell me, hey, you're running low. You need to stock up. That's number 1 thing that it will do. One of the other things that I can have it do is I can actually have it. Let's say I'm going to give you an example. Whenever I was a technician, we didn't necessarily all had the same things on each truck. Okay. One of the things that I always carried in my truck was an oven dolly. Okay. I've either for me to make sure that I actually can pull an oven out, and I don't have to tell the customer, oh, geez, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I had an oven dolly. Some of the other guys didn't have an oven dolly, but you know what else? What they have that I didn't have? They had they would have the air sled, and I didn't keep an air sled. So if I needed an air sled, I could call one of my counterparts. Hey, are you using it? Can I borrow your air sled? And go and get it and get my first time complete still. Yes, that makes it a little longer, and I spend too much time at the customer's home. But for me to get my first time complete, if I'm running low on my first time completes, I'm doing about anything else that I can, because the boss is breathing down my neck. Why are your first time completes so low? And I can give him an answer now and say, well, it's because I don't have the right parts stocked on my truck. I don't have the right tools to be able to fix things. I can speak to him, and he can understand what I'm asking for. One of the things that the Easy Stock program number 2, I can run a list of my top used parts. Okay, so back in the day, whenever I was a technician, a 385-217 was a pump number for a Whirlpool washing machine. Okay. I used to go through at least 2 of those a week, sometimes 5 of those a week. Okay. So that was a fast moving part. But if I didn't know that, my Easy Stock program will tell me, hey, this is, I can run a report and I can look at it and go, hey, I need to stock up better with these, because I need to increase my first time completes, because I don't make any money the second time that I go out. Okay. So that's the second thing that Easy Stocks will do for me. Okay. The third thing that Easy Stock will do for me is, like I had said before, if I want to know the parts, and I want to sit down with my boss, I can sit and run my parts list that I have on my truck. I can run my parts that I'm my frequently used parts that I may or may not have on my truck. And then the third thing is, if I have a specialty thing that I need for me, let's say that I don't need an oven dolly, but one time out of the last 100 calls, that's kind of silly for me to keep an oven dolly on my truck. So I can speak to my boss. I can sit with them and have them understand what I'm asking for and why I'm asking for it. The other thing is, if I'm the boss, I will actually run these. I guarantee you that if I was running an appliance service company today, I would, every time that I had my quarterly meeting with whoever my technicians were, I would have that information already. Okay. And whenever we sat down, that would be something that we discussed. Okay. Number one, I'm going to have all of the information, how many first time completes, how many callbacks, how many multiple callbacks. I take all of that and I figure that into my Easy Stock app. I can get all that information from my Easy Stock app. I'm telling you, this was a great thing. If I was a technician or running a business today, I would make sure that we use this Easy Stock app. Number one, it costs you not a dime. The only requirement is that you have a parts account with Encompass. If something happens and Encompass doesn't have the part, guess what? I can go to my Easy Stock app, I can hit the scan button, and I can scan another part from another warehouse that I had to go, parts house that I had to go get the part from, and I can put that into my Easy Stock app, and it may be something that I need to make sure that my boss calls Encompass and says, hey, listen, we need to make sure that we get these parts in a timely manner. Okay. So that's our program for today. Like I said, Everybody have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. If you're going to be driving, my brother just got here today, and he had a 9-hour drive, 10-hour drive. He can make it in 9. It takes me 11. But please be safe out there. The thing that I will always tell you is take care of you, take care of the company, take care of the customer. With that, everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll see you on Tuesday. Bye now.